what schemes are meant for them, but you do have good practices. So the idea today is, can we identify what has worked? Can we replicate? Can we institutionalize? Can we take those to scale? That is the need of the hour. So thanks once again, and those who want to be connected, my social media handles, because these days, that's the best way. So I would encourage all of you to give a feedback, and any queries, I'm always ready for it. Thanks a lot.
Emotional wellness issue. Indeed, it always boils down to being happy. If the woman is not happy, you are in trouble. I'm calling now to someone who is a source of strength and inspiration and guidance. Vice Chancellor sir is running short of time and he has to attend an emergency meeting. So over to Professor.
Chief guest Professor Amitabh Kundu, guest of honor Dr. Kavita A. Sharma and Dr. Rashmi Singh IAS, the Dean Faculty of Science Professor Shakir, Chairperson Department of Geography Professor Atif Ahmed, Mr. Raju, distinguished faculty members, ladies and gentlemen, my dear students, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I'd like to welcome all the delegates, especially the chief guest and the two guest of honors and all the other delegates who have come from outside to this conference. And I would also like to congratulate the chairperson, Professor Atif Ahmed, and all the other members of his team for organizing this workshop. The Department of Geography has organized a number of conferences in this academic session. The last conference which they organized was also on a very pertinent topic. That was the global water crisis, agriculture and food security. So that was really well attended. It was something which is of common interest. So I congratulate the chairman, Professor Atif Saab, and the other teachers of the Department of Geography for organizing quality academic programs. Now, women, in South Asia, women have been very influential in politics. Mrs. Indira Gandhi was Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina was the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, earlier Khalida Zia was the Prime Minister. Then Mrs. Bandaranaike was the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. In Pakistan also they had Benazir Bhutto as the Prime Minister. Despite this, having so many women leaders in politics means women in South Asia is still lag behind in many fields. The sex ratio is there, as Professor Atif Saab pointed out, still it is negative. Discrimination, inequality is there. Definitely it is there. But things, they are changing now. They are not the same. In India also things are changing. And they are changing for the better. So all these things, they are dynamic process. And it takes time. But we are moving in the right direction. But this is a continuous and gradual process. And we have to further accelerate this process of gender equality. I was in West Asia in 1985, 86 for some time. At that time, there were hardly any women in any sector there. And some of the societies there, they are very conservative as far as women are concerned. Recently, I have also been going there. many countries in West Asia. Now sea change is there. The women the girls they are taking to education in a very big way. And they are also coming in employment, in services also. In Saudi Arabia, which is a conservative society, women are there everywhere in service. At the airports they are there. Even in immigration they are there. And in other offices, tourism and other, in the medical profession they are there. So many nurses are there who are Saudis. So many school teachers are there. So many women are there in the universities. So even in conservative societies, or supposed to be conservative societies, things are changing for the better. And I am sure that they will change further for the better. In the Aligarh Muslim, there is one field where the women they are, I think, doing very well, that is education. I was reading somewhere that in Delhi University, the majority of the teachers in the university, they are women now. If you include all the affiliated colleges and the campus also, 54% of the teachers in Delhi University, if you include the affiliated colleges, 54% they are women. Similarly, in the teaching profession, in schools also, women are there, of course. Now, the topic of this workshop is to earmark the budget for them. Because earlier I was having difficulty in understanding what is this topic actually about. So I talked to the chairman when he came for this, actually what is it. So this is what they are saying, that you earmark a budget. Finances, they are the most important person, the most important aspect of anything. Finance minister is the most important minister. So, this is earmarking budget for gender equality, earmarking sufficient budget for child development and for women development. How to do it? This budgeting, I think, has to be done at the local level, at the panchayat, at the village level also, and then at the block level also, and then at the Zilla Panchayat level or the municipal corporation or municipal board level also, and then at the state level and the government level also. So I am sure that this workshop will create awareness about this. There's something like budgeting for the gender equality also. I am sure that the deliberations of this workshop will benefit all of us. All the delegates who have come and also our research scholars and postgraduate students, and above all, they will create awareness about this issue, which is not something which is very common, because we don't hear that budgeting has to be done on the basis of for women and for children. Of course, we have ministries and mark for them. The Ministry of Child Development, Women Welfare, and others. But to do it specifically in all the departments, in all the other facilities. The other speakers have also made very pertinent points. Dr. Rashmi Singh rightly said that we have to create spaces also, open spaces also, for the children and for women to share. So I wish the workshop all the success and all the best. I would have loved to hear the chief guest, Professor Amitabh Kundu, because I've heard a lot about him. And I interacted with him also when I was sitting on the dais with him. I would have loved to hear his views. But I have some other engagement, and so I have to leave now. But Professor Kundu has invited me to his office, and I am sure that, I hope that I will go there and have interaction with him in his office in India Heritage Center in the near future. So thank you so much. But I am missing the lecture, so that's why I will.
Honorable participants, due to some emergency meeting, our Honorable Vice Chancellor will be along to be in front of the science. So please stay, and one of the very enlightening and most informative lecture is going to be delivered by Professor Amitabh Kundu, our Honorable Chief Guest.
When I read him in societal matters, he comes as sociologist. He is a very clean man. Yes, he is overseeing the committee which decides which city is clean and which city is not clean. Professor Amitabh.
Historic and prestigious university. थोड़ा वर्कशॉप के माहौल में अगर वजन थोड़ा कम हुआ है तो हम जरा फिल्मों की बात करें. I must say my introduction to Aligarh Muslim University dates back to my school days. I was introduced to Clock Tower, the Victoria Gate, the residential hall, the law college, from a film. I'm sure my professional colleagues will be amused, and the young students might not have heard of that film. That was called Mere Mehboob. That was a film shot in this location, and I always thought about it. It was a film about two love stories, cutting across economic classes, cutting across social fragmentations, the Nawab falling in love with a singing woman, and there are certain values, feudal values that were questioned in the film, and ultimately there was a message of gender empowerment. I must tell you that even after that, Aligarh Muslim University has figured in other films also, and the media. And I have always associated these things with progressive values, progressive ideas. Aligarh Muslim University always, in my mind, stands as an academic institution of excellence, which in a way voices the concerns of the marginalized, which represents social transformation at the time when it was established. It talked about women's education, and certainly it contributed to women's empowerment. My salutations to the visionaries who really established this university. In the midst of all this disturbing news about violence and terrorism, let me begin with a sort of good news on the economic front. I hope the PowerPoint is working. 21st century belongs to India. 21st century belongs to Asia. These are not the statements made by a politician who is trying for election, or it's not made by an enthusiastic journalist. Both these statements are coming from serious studies of Asian Development Bank called Asia 2030, Asia 2050. And these two studies are not making projections based on rhetoric or anecdotes. They build a general equilibrium model wherein structural factors are put in, and they say that Indian economy will grow at 7.5% per year in real terms for the next 2 decades. Asian economy will grow between 6 to 7%, and the world economy will grow by less than 3%. So that's how India is going to emerge. And I can put you, many of my students, particularly I remember Anindita saying that, you only deal in matrices, not with graphs. So today I thought I'd show you a graph. You see, look at this beautiful graph. The green patch shows India's share in the global middle class consumption. This is again made by Brookings Institute. The bottom one is China's share. By 2050, India's share in the global middle middle class consumption of consumer durables, which includes cars, refrigerators, air conditioners, washing machines, is going to be 29%. India's share is the highest, even beating China. At the moment, India's share in the global consumption of consumer durables is less than 9%. That is the scenario which has been predicted for India. Now, there are two critical assumptions in this model. And I think both these assumptions are very important in the context of this seminar. I just want to see whether those assumptions are going to be valid, and if these assumptions are valid, we are going to reach this situation. Assumption number one. I think, in a way, Kavitaji did mention, you have to define development. When you are defining development, how do you bring in inclusivity? First assumption is that work participation rate or the employment rate of different sections of population will increase. And one of the vulnerable segments of population, in a way, I'm not about physical vulnerability, but social vulnerability is women. The first assumption is that this will be reached only if the work participation rate of women, which has been declining by all official statistics from 2011-12 till now, that has to go up. The work participation rate of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and Muslim population must go up. Are their work participation rates low? Are the participation of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and Muslims employment rate is low? No, it's not low. In fact, the work participation rate or employment rate is much higher for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and Muslim men. You know why? Because they drop out of the schools, they don't go to the colleges. Work participation rate is very high. But the model assumes that work participation rate of the vulnerable section in the modern and global sectors will go up, and that's why the share is very low. So that is the first critical assumption. If India has to reach this, the employment rate of the vulnerable sections of the population, as I mentioned, SC, ST, Muslims, and of course overall employment, particularly Muslim women employment rate is very low, and happily there are signs of improvement, significant improvement is that. That is assumption number one. The second assumption, which is again the core of the workshop, rate of growth of urban population must increase. Unless that happens, this scenario will not be reached. Now, the point is, not only that migration should take place, migration should take place from rural to urban areas of those who are engaged in low productive agriculture. They must come to the urban areas in industries, in tertiary sector. So migration of the vulnerable sections of the population, migration of women from rural to urban areas, migration of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe to the urban areas must go up. That's a critical assumption. Now, you would know, there's no prize for guessing. Is the migration rate of women is low or high? We might think that, after all, unempowered, disempowered women, their migration rate must be very low. It's quite on the contrary. Women migration is very high in this country. Not because they are deciding to move, but they are being forced to move. Marriage takes place, and marriage is considered to be migration. So, women migration is very high. But again, the model assumes that women migration for economic reasons must go up from rural to urban areas. Now, all that I would do, I'm sorry, I perhaps exhausted your patience already, or waiting for lunch. I just thought I will examine these two assumptions, whether they are going to be valid or not, and then I will close. You know, there's a big debate going on. I got 2 telephone calls this morning about the great report on employment, unemployment, which was leaked out. And I know Dr. Somyajulu is dealing with something with that. You see, I was chairman of the committee which designed the framework of periodic labor force survey, and that has been carried out. And what happened is, the results show that unemployment rate is very high. Sorry, I am giving you some from the banned document. These are the leaked figures This is from the media, I picked it up. First assumption was, woman employment rate must go up, unemployment rate must go down. What has happened? Woman unemployment in the rural areas, 17%, highest. This is in the age group of 15 to 29. For urban areas, it is 27%. Listen, I am not saying that these figures are correct. I think there are questions being raised whether they are comparable with the earlier one, but nonetheless, the trend of unemployment is something very, very worrying, and the basic assumption is that woman employment rate will go up. If this is not happening, this is a matter of serious concern. Now, urbanization. Is rate of urbanization very high, very rapid? Is it accelerating? Quite on the contrary. Just give me a hint whenever you think I should stop, I will just stop it. What is the growth rate of urban population? You think it's very high? No. It was the highest during 71-81, 3.8%, 3.9% per annum. It went down in the next decade to 3.1%. And 91-2001, it was 2.7%. 2001-2011, it's again 2.7%. And that too, it would have been much less than that, just because census declared 3,000 new urban centers. That's how the urban growth rate has been maintained. So rate of growth of urban population, which is being shown by the dotted line, there is some definitional adjustment, that's why you find a break. But the rate of growth has gone down. Rural-urban migration in India has not gone up, no matter what Arvind Subramaniam writes in Economic Survey. The pillars are showing percentage of urban population, which is good. Of course, percentage of urban population is now over 31%, but the rate of growth of urban population is good. And the critical assumption is whether the migration of vulnerable sections from the rural to urban areas, who are in the low productive sector, are they coming to the urban areas? Let us look at that. This is again UN projection. These green pillars are showing what UN projected about the growth rate of urban population during 2025-30. All these green ones are the projection for 2025-30. Why so many projections? And the dark green ones are for 2045 to 50. But why so many projections for 2025-30? Because there are projections made at different points of time. This was made in 95, then in 98, 2000, 2004. UN is revising our growth rate of urban population because India is not urbanizing at a rate, no matter how you shout, oh, cities are bursting out. We do find that rate of growth of urban population is not picking up. Urbanization is not taking, rural-urban transformation is not happening in the way as has been envisaged in the ADB model, which predicts glorious future for India. I just wanted to give you some figures about the migration of different vulnerable sections of the population. Scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, Muslim population. If more of scheduled caste people are in the urban areas, it's better for them because urban per capita income is higher, urban living conditions are better despite the problems in the statistics. But are the scheduled caste people live in urban areas or rural areas? Large percentage of the rural scheduled caste population live in the rural areas. That's why, despite the fact there can be debate on the percentage of scheduled caste population in the country, but certainly it is 15 to 17%. The share in the urban areas is 11.9, 11.8, 12.6. This is much less than the population share, which means scheduled caste population is much less urbanized than the total population. And there has been some marginal increase. I calculated the degree of concentration. This paper is coming in a journal from UK just this month. Scheduled tribe population. The share would be something over 7%. What is the share in the urban areas? Scheduled tribe population live mostly in the rural areas. So you see 2.3 going up to 2.4 to 2.8. Again, the degree of urban concentration, index of urban concentration, that's the last three columns, that's not increasing. What about Muslim population? Yes, Muslim population live, a larger percentage live in the urban tribe population were then lived in the urban areas. Why is it so? Because of history, nothing else. Sultanate, Mughal Empire are built in the big cities, and that's why a larger percentage of Muslims live in the urban areas. Very clear. Not because of the rural-urban migration, but this is, as I said, this paper has created a lot of interest in Europe. What's happening to the Muslim migration to the urban areas? Are they migrating much more and more? That's exactly what's not happening. Look at the degree index of urban concentration. This has gone down. 1.36 to 1.29 to 1.28. And 2011 census, I told you 3,000 urban centers have come up. Most of them are in Kerala and in West Bengal, where percentage of Muslim population is higher. So that's a statistical factor, otherwise it would have gone down further. Look at the figure. I'm sorry, how come this is not coming up? Can we put it up? No, I think don't. But look at the bottom thing. Total urban percentage 23.7, 25.7, 27.8. This is the overall urban population. थोड़ा सा नहीं, ये तो आप नहीं, मुझे पता कितना तो मुझे पता है. But percentage of Muslims in the urban, share of Muslim, total Muslim 134% lived. Because of history, as I said, slightly higher than their Muslim population share would be something like 15%. But this has not gone up. Overall urbanization is taking place. Muslim population share is increasing marginally, much less than that, which means this exclusionary urbanization process is not really creating labor conditions for the Muslims, even for SC/ST population to migrate in a significant number. Now, what about women? Seminar is on gender issues. Look at the Muslim, this is overall female migration. In the migrants, population male 17.2 gone up to 22.7 over a period of 5 decades. As far as the women are concerned, this has gone up. 41%, 44%, 41%, 44%. It was going up marginally, but suddenly migration among women has gone up. Urban areas, percentage of migrant women 43, 37, 40, 54. Now this is where I would like to draw your attention that when I mentioned that the migration from rural to urban areas for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe population has not gone up, particularly for the Muslim population it has not gone up, and that's why their degree of concentration is declining. As far as the women are concerned, there's a significant spurt in migration. Rural-urban migration among the women has gone up. What does it signify? And that is what I would like to conclude my presentation with. What is it that explains the migration, significant migration, increase in the migration of women? I did mention that women migration is high because of their dependence on their husband. Marriage migration, family migration, woman is forced to marry. But what is happening now is independent decision by the woman to migrate for economic reasons, and that's what is coming up. This is the migration across the states. Across the states, migration is not as much for marriage as for economic reasons. You do find, 2011 figure, the data has not come in 2011, but it's roughly, I calculated, it would be something like 8.1, so gone up significantly for the woman. I'm talking about, it was 3.4, 3.9, 3.8, 4.6, has gone up significantly, which means there are economic factors which are resulting in the migration of women across the states from rural to urban areas, which is not happening for the other vulnerable sections of the population. Now I give you a big table, which is from 2011 census. This is the rural-urban migration. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is not possible. Can we have the, you have to believe me, the last row is not coming at all. I will give you the figures. This is the percentage of growth in the woman migration in different points of time. 2001, what was the growth rate of woman migration? 31%. Can you see that? Growth rate of woman migrants, rural to urban areas during the decade is grew by 31%. And for economic reasons, it was 30%. Now, the bottom line is, during 2001 and 2011, the growth rate of women migration from rural to urban areas has gone up by 57.22% against 31%. And for economic reasons, it was 30%, has gone up to 83%. There's a significant increase in the women migration from rural to urban areas for economic reasons, for employment reasons. Does it mean they're getting absorbed in very good jobs? 67% of the women who are migrating are getting absorbed as domestic help. And that is a sector, it's a low productive tertiary sector, low productive, service sector. That's where much of the migration of the poor woman is taking place. There's a transformation in the urban areas. The middle class women, upper class women are going into labor market. Their employment rate has gone up in the middle class and upper class. And if 5 families, the women go out to work, you create a job for a domestic help. So on both sides you do find there is improvement, and as I am saying, Arvind Subramaniam talks about it. My paper came just before 2 months in Indian Express, saying that women migration has gone up. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I would like the Department of Geography, Department of Economic, Department of Sociology here to look at the migration that's taking place of the women from rural to urban areas, of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe women, of Muslim women, and where are they getting absorbed? Macroeconomic picture is that they're getting absorbed in the low productive tertiary sector. Some of them are into better sectors, but nonetheless, is it a question of gender empowerment? And would that kind of a migration and absorption in the labor market help in realizing the NDP projection of 7.5% growth rate? That is an issue. Sorry, I had a slightly longish presentation because I was told that I would have 20 minutes, but I'll take another 2 minutes. You see, this is showing how we calculated this, how people are entering labor market. You find people are entering labor market at 12. Why so many lines? This is for Hindus, upper caste Hindus, OBC Hindus, scheduled caste Hindus, scheduled tribe Hindus, Muslims, and you do find that people are entering labor market at the age of 12 years. China, has a much larger years of skill development. If we have to have that kind of a growth rate, your skill development is not taking place. People are entering, and you do find that it is the scheduled tribe population, scheduled caste population, and Muslim population. For the men, they join the labor force much earlier without the proper skill development. This is for the woman. You do find, you see, tribal woman, that's the top one. They join labor force at a much earlier age and at a very high rate, both in the rural and urban areas. Muslim women, of course, because of social-cultural factors, they're at the bottom. So there is an issue that the women are joining labor force at a very early age, much earlier, much more in the urban, in case of women, it's much more in the rural areas that they join the labor force. This is enrollment rate, school attendance rate. You find it drops like a stream. At the age of 12, people start dropping out, and it is the, girls who drop out much earlier, and it is when the Muslim girl drops out of the education system, when even the other caste women drop out, they go to the household. They work as family labor, but take care of the siblings. But as far as the boys, when they drop out, they go straight to the labor market. And this is a major area of concern if India has to exploit the demographic dividend. This is the health indicator which shows no services for the different sections of the population. ICDS facilities is the highest in case of the Muslims. Having access, Muslim women having access to the ICDS facilities. No services is highest. Their access to supplementary food, other things are much lower. Next to Muslim woman comes the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe woman. But live birth in the medical government hospitals, you do find the worst is scheduled tribe population. They don't have access to the government hospitals for delivery of the child just because of their location. They are in the remote rural areas. They don't have that. The scheduled castes are doing better in terms of delivery in the government hospitals as compared to the Muslims. But if you take live births delivered in a private family hospital, That's the last issue I would like to flag before I stop. Although you find the percentage of illiteracy among women is very high among the Muslims. Percentage of school enrollment is very low for the Muslim girls. Even if you include the madrasa education. On the health side, although their access to ICDS is low, but you do find health indicators for the Muslim woman is not that bad, despite high level of poverty, high level of illiteracy. That is a question which such a committee raised, our post such a committee raised, and we do find that the access to the private hospitals is slightly higher for the Muslim women. Despite their having lower access, they do, if I can put it, Muslim husband or Muslim family do take their wives to some medical facility, and that is confirmed by percentage of married women who receive full antenatal checkup. It's not that low for the Muslims, despite their poverty and illiteracy. Scheduled caste and scheduled tribe was doing worse in terms of the married woman receiving full antenatal facilities. Again, nutritional deficiency for the Muslim woman is not that bad. The second pillar is for Muslim woman, and you do find the deficiency for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe is much higher than that. This is the paradox. We try to understand in the Sachar committee and post Sachar committee that how come, despite their lower access to public facilities, the health status of the Muslim woman is somewhat better. Not much better, I would say, but slightly better than SC/ST population. Infant mortality rate is not the highest for the Muslims, it's highest for scheduled tribe population. Scheduled caste population is much higher. Muslim infant mortality rate is lower. Life expectancy at birth. This is the last slide. What do you think? Who will live longer?